Hey, how's it going? We're going to do lesson 71 of A Course in Miracles, and I'm just going to give you a heads up. This one is a long one, so get ready for it. And I'm going to make it longer because I got the guidance just now to go and grab two other books because I want to make you aware of the original channel of A Course in Miracles. Some of you may know, but others of you may not. This is a biography, sorry, she was passed away when this was written. Absence from Felicity, the story of Helen Schucman and her scribing of A Course in Miracles. And I want you to see, like, this whole entire book. And actually, there's a bigger book that's like the whole entire compilation. The one that I'm using is an edited book, and it's a little shorter. But this is how this entire book looked. It was handwritten before, and this was the cover. She started writing this in the 1960s. The whole thing was handwritten. It's amazing to me. And so this material came through from Jesus to Helen Schucman. She hand wrote it, and then Bill, who his autobiography written by Carol Howe, Never Forget to Laugh, another great book that everyone should read, he then wrote or typed everything up. So they worked together. Jesus came through to Helen, and then he really was working with both of them as this entire thing, the text, the 365 days of lessons, and the guide for teachers, as well as all the other extras in there. As that came through, the two of them worked together as a team. And then there were more people in the Course in Miracles community from the Foundation of Inner Peace and the Circle of Atonement that also knew Helen and Bill. But here's like a cool picture of Bill in a jumpsuit. I don't know, it's funny. So here they are, like kind of more proper pictures. This is the reason why we have A Course in Miracles. And many of you are familiar with Tina, of course, and I pick her book up and show it a lot. And the information that she brought through kind of brings this Course in Miracles material that was channeled in the 60s more relevance to us today, I think. But no matter what, I think it's important to honor the two people that brought this through. And today's message, I don't know, I got guidance to go and grab those books and show this to you. So I'll put links to the books in the description, and get yourself comfortable, because here we go with lesson 71. Only God's plan for salvation will work. You may not realize that the ego has set up a plan for salvation in opposition to God's. It is this plan in which you believe. Since it is the opposite of God's, you also believe that to accept God's plan in place of the ego's is to be damned. This sounds preposterous, of course. Yet after we have considered just what the ego's plan is, perhaps you'll realize that, however preposterous it may be, you do believe in it. The ego's plan for salvation centers around holding grievances. It maintains that if someone else spoke or acted differently, if some external circumstance or event were changed, you would be saved. Thus, the source of salvation is constantly perceived as outside yourself. Each grievance you hold is a declaration and an assertion in which you believe that says, if this were different, I would be saved. The change of mind necessary for salvation is thus demanded of everyone and everything except yourself. The role assigned to your own mind in this plan, then, is simply to determine what, other than itself, must change if you are to be saved. According to this insane plan, any perceived source of salvation is acceptable provided that it will not work. This ensures that the fruitless search will continue, for the illusion persists that, although this hope has always failed, there is still grounds for hope in other places and in other things. Another person will yet serve better. Another situation will yet offer success. What just dropped into me is the ridiculous gas prices right now. So I think there's probably people out there that think, if I see a change in the gas prices, I'll know things are making a turn for the better. I think the gas prices might go up before they go down. But anyway, such is the ego's plan for your salvation. Surely you can see how it is in strict accord with the ego's basic doctrine. Seek, but do not find. For what could more surely guarantee that you will not find salvation than to channelize all your efforts in searching for it where it is not? God's plan for salvation works simply because by following his direction, you seek for salvation where it is. But if you are to succeed, as God promises you will, you must be willing to seek there only. Otherwise, your purpose is divided and you will attempt to follow two plans for salvation that are diametrically opposed in all ways. The result can only bring confusion, misery, and a deep sense of failure and despair. How can you escape all this? Very simply. The idea for today is the answer. Only God's plan for salvation will work. There can be no real conflict about this because there is no possible alternative to God's plan that will save you. His is the only plan that is certain in its outcome. His is the only plan that must succeed. Let us practice recognizing this certainty today, and let us rejoice that there is an answer to what seems to be a conflict with no resolution possible. All things are possible to God. Salvation must be yours because of his plan, which cannot fail. Begin the 2 longer practice periods for today by thinking about today's idea and realizing that it contains 2 parts, each making equal contribution to the whole. God's plan for your salvation will work, and other plans will not. Do not allow yourself to become depressed or angry at the second part. It is inherent in the first. And in the first is your full release from all your own insane attempts and mad proposals to free yourself. They have led to depression and anger, but God's plan will succeed. It will lead to release and joy. Remembering this, let us devote the remainder of the extended practice periods to asking God to reveal his plan to us. Ask him very specifically, what would you have me do? Where would you have me go? What would you have me say, and to whom? Give him full charge of the rest of the practice period and let him tell you what needs to be done by you in his plan for your salvation. He will answer in proportion to your willingness to hear his voice. Refuse not to hear. The very fact that you are doing the exercises proves that you have some willingness to listen. This is enough to establish your claim to God's answer. In the shorter practice periods, tell yourself often that God's plan for salvation and only his will work. Be alert to all temptation to hold grievances today and respond to them with this form of today's idea. Holding grievances is the opposite of God's plan for salvation, and only his plan will work. I really, really like all these statements here. Okay, try to remember today's idea some 6 or 7 times an hour. There could be no better way to spend half a minute or less than to remember the source of your salvation and to see it where it is. Well, there you go. Now since I showed pictures here, let's go ahead and see. There's Tina, for anybody who doesn't know Tina. She's the author of A Year of Forgiveness. So this book was channeled in 2019. All right, let's see what Jesus has to say. Lesson number 71. Only God's plan for salvation will work. You are blessed beings indeed. I am that one that you know is Jesus. What wonderful words these are to realize that chasing your tail around the planet year after year, decade after decade, no longer appeals to you. It no longer tempts you. Temptation, often in your society's definition, is seen as evil, dirty, and unholy in some way. But what we want you to understand is that you have, in your separation from all that is in your separation from love, placed your own temptations in the world. That, dear ones, is why they appeal to you. They are not placed there by the devil. The devil is a psychological fantasy, a mythology figure invented to separate you from the knowledge that you design your own temptations. I think that is really huge because what I understand from doing past life regressions with people is that you have a soul contract, many of them, and you have these plans that you make prior to your incarnation. And I think when it comes to temptations and all of your challenges and difficulties, those are all plotted out along the way as well by you. So kind of like, that might be tough to handle for the really traumatic experiences, but as you go through your healing work, I think it becomes apparent. Hopefully it does. You design your own temptations, and that is why they seem irresistible. We want to go into this idea of desire and temptation a little bit in this lesson. It's very important you understand the results of following your desires, your passions, and your interests. All these things are not the same. There are deep-seated passions within your mind that you want to deepen your knowledge about. It could be music, art, cooking. It could be anything, but you know what it is. It's that thing you always love to do and that always is interesting to you. Even if you're not doing it as a job, you think, I would love to be able to do this as work full-time. Then there are other things in a more superficial part of your ego consciousness, that part of your mind that is separated from guidance and in opposition to God's plan. That may be your love of chocolate cake, your love of promiscuous sex and drugs. These things are not the same. Often you hear that, well, you cannot follow your desires, otherwise you would be all over the map. There is a difference between a deep-seated interest and passion about a subject and that superficial pleasure-seeking activity of the ego. We want you to differentiate between those two things, because if you believe that to do what you feel drawn to do is evil, then you will not live a happy life. You will not be able to pursue that purpose you came here to fulfill. You will see it as a temptation of the devil, an evil in some way. So when you have a feeling to do something, stop for a moment and ask, is this contributing to the overall health of my life? Is this something that has always been with me and always brought a smile to my face? Or is this some distraction? Is this some temporary band-aid on a negative feeling I'm having, so to go and drink a beer or buy a pair of boots will only make me feel better temporarily? Those are the ones you want to look at. Those are the ones we want you to take a break from or even postpone. If you want to go shopping, and shopping is your thing to make yourself feel better, tell yourself you can go shopping tomorrow. Today, you are going to look at why you want to go. What is it in you causing the agitation? Is it so important for you to understand that constantly soothing yourself does not benefit your spiritual and consciousness evolution? You must be willing to sit once in a while with your discomfort and ask the question, what am I trying to tempt myself with here? What am I trying to hide from myself? So your temptations are yours. They are your idols, and they will fall. We are happy to tell you that your idols will fall, and you will come into alignment with truth. I am that one that you know as Jesus, and we will speak to you tomorrow. Lots of homework in this lesson today. Again, I think that what was offered in the Course in Miracles lesson is very important, and I think it's kind of a meditation that once you do it today and get through these lessons, you can include that in your daily practices when you just sort of get quiet for a moment and ask, what would you have me do? Where would you have me go? What would you have me say and to whom? I think that's a really good way to connect in with Spirit when you're maybe not sure. It certainly helps me thinking about changes I have coming up in my life. So thank you so much for joining me, everyone. Good luck on your lesson today, and I'll see you again tomorrow.